Hello there, I'm Jill Webb from Jill Webb Training. One of the sets of courses I offer is first aid, including paediatric first aid, where we look at the care of children. And one extremely common injury in children is bumped heads. So we're just going to do a quick recap here of what you do if a child bumps their head. So I want us to imagine that our casualties aged about 4 or 5 has been playing outside at school, coming with a bumped head. What we'll normally do is apply a cold compress, so cold water or something like a triangular bandage. You want to help hold that? Onto triangular bandage, paper towels or whatever. As you'll remember from other videos, it's always a good idea to involve a conscious casualty in their own first aid because it keeps them busy. Right, I want you to hold that for me. And usually that's all that we'll need to do. But it's always really important with head injuries to be particularly vigilant. We're going to, for the next 72 hours, note that's 72 hours, 3 days, keep an eye out for things like nausea, vomiting, headache, perhaps complaints of double vision, behaviour that's out of character. And any of those things start happening, we need to get urgent medical attention. If the child's hurt themselves somewhere like a nursery or school, this is where the famous bumped head letter, as it's affectionately known, comes in. You might use a letter, I've seen it done with a sticker on the child, but there needs to be some way that the parents know, or the carers, if it's carers, that for 72 hours they need to be watching the child carefully. And just the final thing that I want to add, where I think sort of dealing with head injuries in younger children is a bit different, is thinking about age-appropriate questions. Quite often, if someone's banged their head, we will use the sort of AVPU questions. You'll remember the AVPU scale that we've used in other videos and you've done on your course to see what their level of consciousness is. They're clearly alert, so we might say things like, can you remember what time it is? Are you at home or are you at school? Things like that. The younger a child is, the more difficult an age-appropriate question is. So we might be thinking about at school things like, can you point to your coat on the coat hooks? There's some teddies there. Which one is your favourite one to play with? Something very easy for a child to respond to. And finally, don't forget to think about how you would manage this with somebody who's non-verbal. Because they're not going to be able to respond and say, oh, I can remember what day it is. Do they have a visual timetable that you could use? Can they use Makaton or some other form of sign language? So they're just some things to think about. I hope that's been a useful recap and has perhaps taken your learning a little bit further. Thank you.